Today, we're diving into something we're all a part of, whether we like it or not. That invisible game being played all around us. Our life in the age of the algorithm. You know that feeling, right? It's like this sense that some system is always watching, learning from every single click, and kind of nudging you, shaping what you want. And that brings up this huge question for all of us. Do we try to fight it? Or, is it just easier, maybe even better, to just go with the flow? And that, right there, is what we're calling the digital dilemma. From a psychoanalytic point of view, this is pretty much the core ethical question of our time. Is the right move to submit to this new digital world, or is it to resist? So when you break it down, it's like we're all standing at this fork in the road. One path, that's where you fully harmonize with the system. You become part of its logic. The other path, well, that's where you try to consciously keep your distance, even when it feels like a total uphill battle. Okay, so to really get a grip on this choice, we need to pull in a really powerful idea from the psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan. We need to meet what he called the big other. So what is the big other? First off, it's not a person. It's not some secret society pulling the strings. Think of it as the invisible authority that we all subconsciously answer to. It's the unspoken rules of the game of society. It's language itself. It's the law. And here's the kicker. Today, the algorithm is arguably its most powerful form. It's that system we imagine is watching and judging everything. Our posts, our likes, our entire relevance. Now, this big other, it offers us something that Lacan called jouissance. And yeah, it's a tricky word. It's not just pleasure or enjoyment. It's more like an excessive pleasure. A pleasure that's so intense it actually becomes a little painful, It's the thrill you get from pushing past limits. The perfect example? Think about a post going viral. At first, the likes pouring in feel amazing, but then, pretty soon, the notifications are just the stressful, overwhelming flood. That feeling, right there, is jouissance. So, let's go back to that fork in the road. What happens if we take that first path? The one where we just go with it. What if we totally embrace submitting to the algorithm? It's a pretty seductive idea, so let's check it out.
This is really the heart of it, the core of that submission. You're essentially swapping out your own authentic desires for what the algorithm wants. The system's goals, more engagement, more content, jump on this trend, they don't just influence you, they literally become your goals.
And let's be real, for a while, this can feel amazing. It feels like you're playing the game perfectly. You stop all that agonizing over being authentic, and you just start to enjoy the ride. This constant process of curating and optimizing yourself. Your whole online presence turns into this cool creative project, and you're totally in sync with the digital world. Man, it really feels like you're winning. But, of course, there's always a catch, isn't there? This path of perfect harmony, it turns out, is completely unsustainable, psychologically speaking, and it leads directly to what we're calling the burnout inevitable. And this is exactly where that idea of jouissance comes back to bite us. Remember that excessive pleasure? Well, Lacan argued that it always becomes unbearable. It's just too much. That constant, nagging demand for more engagement, more performance, more optimization. It eventually stops being a thrill and just becomes a source of real, deep suffering. I mean, we see this play out all the time, right? Especially with creators and influencers. It always starts out as joyful participation. It's fun. But then, pretty quickly, the demand becomes excessive. It never stops. And then, the killer blow. The algorithm changes without any warning. And you have this horrifying realization that you were never actually in control. And what's the result? Total burnout, anxiety, and often a full-blown identity crisis. Okay, so if total submission just leads to burnout, what's the alternative? What's the other path? We need to find a more conscious way forward, a way to play the game without, completely losing yourself in the process. And look, the answer here isn't to just delete all your accounts and go live in a cabin in the woods. Why? Because you can't really escape the big other. It's everywhere. The real key, the Lacanian stance, is to consciously choose your relationship to the system, instead of just letting it dictate all the terms to you. And this slide really lays out the fundamental difference. On one side, you've got the unconscious subject. They just blindly obey the algorithm, right? They're chasing validation, and they end up with anxiety. But on the other side, you have the conscious player. They don't obey the system, they play with its structure. Their goal isn't just validation, it's about experimenting with their identity. And the outcome? It's a feeling of agency, of freedom, because deep down, they know it's all just a game. But this choice, this isn't just about you or me as individuals. It actually points to a much, much bigger question. It really suggests that all of humanity is standing at a major crossroads right now. Think about it. For almost all of human history, conforming wasn't a bad thing. It was a survival tool. It's what held tribes together, what created social stability. But now, in the digital age, where we have access to so much information, is that kind of blind conformity still something we need? Or has it become, an outdated piece of our programming? And that creates this really deep tension inside all of us. Because for the first time in history, we can actually see the system's code. We are aware that our desires are being shaped by these outside forces. And yet, our ancient evolutionary wiring still craves the comfort and safety of the program. We're literally caught between our modern awareness and our ancient instincts. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. It's one thing to know you're in the matrix. It's a whole other thing to actually leave it. So if that door was thrown wide open for every single one of us, how many people do you think would actually choose to walk through? And maybe the more important question is, which choice are you making every single time you log on?